You're listening to the ADHD Support Talk Radio podcast. ADHD Support Talk Radio is sponsored by ADDclasses.com. Sign up now for a free webinar by going to www.addclasses.com. And this is your co-host, Tara McGillicuddy. Today, I am bringing you an interview with Jessica McCabe of HowtoADHD about how to get stuff done. This interview originally aired at the ADHD Awareness Expo.
Hi, I'm Jessica McCabe. I run the YouTube channel HowtoADHD. So youtube.com/HowtoADHD, or we actually have a website now that was created by one of our brains, which is HowtoADHD.com. I should really know that. So yeah, it's we basically do a toolbox of strategies for people with ADHD. So whether you're taking medication or not taking medication, if you've just found out about your diagnosis or you're not sure yet, it's a really good place to learn more about it.
Great videos. And one of the things I like about them is they're short. They have great information and they keep your attention span. So what are they, like 7 or 8 minutes or?
The goal originally was keep them under 5 minutes so that they'd fit into a Pomodoro. But yeah, we try to keep them ADHD friendly. Sometimes there's so much information that I want to include that they end up being 7, 8, 9 minutes, but they are really short for the most part, and they move quickly as well. Mm-hmm. So Edward actually is my husband, and he produces the channel with me, and he does all of the posts. He helps with the creative process as well. And he basically has a rule. Like, if I'm getting bored, I know that they'll get bored. If I can be entertained, if I can entertain myself and keep myself from getting bored, then they'll probably like it. So
definitely. If you haven't checked out the channel, check it out. It's great. And it's funny. The first year I did the videos for the ADHD Awareness Expo, I tried to keep them at 10 minutes, and people were complaining, why aren't they long? Because they were so used to sessions being an hour long. So 15 minutes is where I try to keep them at, because we have over 30 this year. So,
wow.
So 15 minutes is a long time, I think, for me. Okay, so let's get into the discussion about getting things done. It's such a vast topic when you have ADHD, definitely needed. Where would you like to begin, Jessica?
So actually, first of all, a step that I think a lot of ADHDers miss, and myself definitely included, is, should I even do this thing? Mm-hmm. Right? So something lands on our plate and we're like, gotta get it done. Wait, do we? Do we have to take everything that comes at us? Do we have to sign up for the bake sale and, carpool and, literally everything that somebody asks us to do? And because we're people pleasers and we like new and exciting things and challenges, we do end up taking on, I think, a lot more than anybody is capable of accomplishing. And then we end up feeling like failures when we don't get it all done. So I created a video called How to Get Projects Done on Time Without Your Life Falling Apart in the Process. And the basic gist of it is figure out first if you even want to take it on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a go in the boundaries and, not saying yes right away. And that's a great thing, because sometimes we don't think about that and we have 1,000,001 things on our plate and you can't get everything done. So I'm glad you started with that. What else would you like to discuss when it comes to getting stuff done?
The difference between what's important and what's urgent. And that kind of falls in line with that as well. But for a long time, for probably the first 10 years of my adult life, I responded to just whatever was urgent, whatever I noticed needed to be done right away, because, that's what's most important, right? It's what needs to be done right now. But there's a difference between that and what's important. It might be important to you to write a novel, but nobody's ever going to be like, give me 3 paragraphs by tomorrow. Yeah. If you've never sold a book before, maybe once you have a publisher, they gotta write the novel first. So, for me, it's going, okay, I need to make sure that I set aside time for things that are important, that aren't urgent. Otherwise, my entire life is going to be things that are urgent, which, by the way, includes things like clicking on the latest Kim Kardashian article on Twitter.
Yep.
Because, if you don't click on it right now, you might never know how she feels about Taylor Swift. So those things can really sidetrack us.
Yeah. So how does somebody decide what's important and what's urgent?
So there's this great matrix. It's the Eisenhower matrix, and it was really made popular in Stephen Covey's 7 Habits. 7 Habits of Highly Successful People is what it's called. Yeah. So basically, there are things that are there's four boxes. Things that are important and urgent. Obviously, those things need to get taken care of. But ideally, you don't want things to even fall into that box. You want to take care of them while they're important, but not yet urgent. And then you have things that are urgent but not important. I'm totally gonna mess this up.
That's okay.
But yeah, basically you can draw a grid and figure out, okay, what's important and urgent, what's just urgent, that's not important at all, what's not urgent or important, that's stuff you definitely don't need to do. And once you know what box those things, and then you can figure out how to deal with them. A a lot of the time, like a key to it is it something that's urgent? If it's something that's urgent, a lot of times it's something that's important to somebody else. So the stuff that's important to us, for us, a lot of the time isn't urgent because nobody's giving us a deadline. Nobody's like, you have till Tuesday to eat a vegetable. Yeah. Right. That doesn't mean it's not important, but because it's not urgent, it might only be important to us. So I would suggest people to pay special attention to things that are important to them, but aren't urgent. Because again, those are the things we'll never get to if we just keep responding to things that are urgent.
Yeah. Now, I actually learned about the bullet journal from your videos, and it was like I keep myself up to date about what's going on with ADHD, but that's something that just seemed new. It's funny. I saw the term bullet journal, and how do I buy one? What is it? But what is the bullet journal? I was like, kind of when I actually learned about it, I'm like, wow, this is super easy. It makes sense.
Yeah. I love the bullet journal. It was developed by somebody with ADHD, Ryder Carroll. And it's basically a super flexible planner. A lot of times I would write stuff in notebooks in random places in the notebook, and I feel more comfortable with that than I do with a traditional planner because, you know, part of it's like a little bit of like OCD where I'm like, I must fill in all the boxes and, you know, have to stick to the exact format that they give me, but my brain isn't like that. My brain doesn't work like that. Yeah. And then if I lost my planner for a week and I came back, there'd be like all these empty spaces staring at me like Monday, Thursday, Friday, like I didn't fill them out and I would feel guilty. So I would feel like I was failing at my planner. With this planner, like I can go a month without using it and I'll come right back and pick it up. So basically it's just a blank notebook. The big difference is you have a table of contents and it's the table of contents for your own stuff. So you tell yourself like, hey, if you're looking for how to edit an interview, it's on page 55 and you flip to it, but the rest of it's blank. And what you do is as you fill up your pages, you fill out the index so you can find stuff again. And there's really creative ways to do it. There's different layouts. I have a video on the original by Ryder Carroll, but if you go on Pinterest, you can see all kinds of different creative things that people do. They make it all pretty. I would just give people one piece of advice, which is start out with the basic bullet journal because otherwise it's really easy to get intimidated and be like, it's not perfect, you know, throw it all away, start over.
So this is a blank, any type of notebook can work type of thing?
Yeah. Moleskine has notebooks. This is a lectern. These are really popular. Mine has, you can kind of see, it has like little dots. I don't know if you can see that.
Little bit.
There's like little dots. And then, you just create whatever you want. So I'll show you a page. I mean, you can put whatever you want. I like to put things on sticky notes. And if I'm using them, I just stick them right in the book. So I'll show you like the basic. This is a habit tracker. I don't know if you guys can see it.
Yep.
But you write down like what habits you want and you have, you list the days of the week. It's kind of hard to explain through a video, but you just cross out every time you do a habit, whatever it is that you want to keep track of, whether it's your schedule or your financials or like anything you can put in there. And what I really like about it, two things. One, if you actually write something out, you're more likely to remember it. Your brain just connects with it better than if you type it. And two, like it serves as a real journal of what your life was like, during the time that you're using it. Like I'm never going to be like nostalgic about my Google Calendar and print it out and just save it forever. Yeah. But this I can see what I actually did that day and then write out how I felt about it in like a sentence. And it's way easier to keep track of than a regular journal. Just way more forgiving.
And it's not a huge investment. You purchase a notebook for a few dollars or however much they actually cost. Yeah, you're not saying go spend $500 on a new iPhone. You're recommending a notebook.
Yeah, and you can customize it to make it work for your brain. Like there is literally no journal. Like it's impossible to create a planner that will work for everybody. And we are also individual. And we also change interests so often that like, 1 week I might want to keep track of like how many push-ups I did, but the next week I don't care. So I don't need that part anymore. So just, the next week I have a different layout.
It's great. I definitely recommend checking out your video about it. That's where I learned about the concept.
Hey.
So let's see, what else would you like to discuss when it comes to productivity? We only have a few more minutes left.
Yeah,
so I know there's so much we can talk about.
So a big part of productivity is the resistance to even get started. That's really common with ADHD. Yep. So a couple things help there. One is to break it down into steps, like baby steps. If you look at a project and you're like, I don't want to do that, ask yourself why. Do you not feel good? Are you hungry? Are you tired? Or is it just you don't know where to start? Because that's a lot of the time what it is. Like it's like trying to climb up onto a giant block. It's like, I know I need to get up there, but I see no way up there. So that looks really hard to me. Whereas if you chisel in steps, then you just, oh, well, okay, I can take the first step. Like that's much easier than jumping to the top of this, 10-story block. And you've broken it down enough, and you don't have to do the whole thing up front. Like that's really tedious, but even like the first few steps, for something like if you're writing a term paper, it might just be open up Word and format the paper to the, the specifications, like however the margins are supposed to be, the spacing and everything. And that's it. That's your first step.
Yeah.
Right. And then the other thing that we tend to have a hard time with is, maybe we know exactly what we need to do, but we still have a hard time getting started because we're afraid that it's not going to be perfect, or it's not going to be as good as last time, or it's not going to be as good as somebody else's, or we've failed in the past. We experience a lot of failure as people with ADHD. So sometimes our resistance is just that fear. So what can be really helpful, and I do this every week that I write a video, because every week I'm still scared to make one. You write the worst version first, like just brain dump, like whatever is in your head, just dump it out on the paper. And it does not have to make sense. It doesn't have to be good. But now you have something to work with. So instead of trying to like create, the perfect video or the perfect essay or whatever, you're just dumping out a bunch of clay that then you can mold and make better.
Yeah, I mean, I think we get into that perfectionism mode and we want it perfect to begin with. But I like that you suggested start out with, I know other people swear when they say it, but a crappy, first draft. And if we shoot for that, yes, we can add on it, but I think that's really helpful. It's not going to be perfect the first try, and if you just get it out there, you'll be amazed at how much easier it'll be.
Yeah, plus it's different parts of the brain that we're using, right? If we're being creative and trying to come up with new ideas, but you're looking at that from like a critical editing part of your brain, your left brain is constantly shutting down that creativity. So it's really just a lot harder to create that way. Whereas if you just let your brain run free, if you do mind mapping, I don't know, there's all kinds of different techniques that we can use to get our ideas onto paper. And then once they're there, then we can shape them. Yeah,
get it out without judging, which is easier said than done. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. But, it's tough. But once you start, you'll be amazed at how much it'll flow and how easy it'll be. Not, I should say easy to get things done, but easier.
Yeah, much easier. Okay.
I think we might have time for one more quick tip or idea. Is there anything else that you want to talk about?
Let me see. So in terms of getting things done that are, not on the creative side, things that are like just need to get done throughout the day, I've become such a big believer in routines and habits because I don't want to have to think about washing the dishes. I don't want to have to think about doing laundry. So if I create a system where they get done kind of automatically and I can be spaced out thinking of something else, that works better. So, I will set up routines for that now. Like now my husband and I have a routine where, as soon as you walk into the kitchen, you empty the dishwasher. If you do that, then anytime there's a dirty dish there, you can put it in the dishwasher and it saves so much time, right? I don't like doing dishes. The fact that I have this routine doesn't mean that like suddenly doing the dishes is more important to me. I just don't want to have to think about it.
Yes.
So then when it's full, you run it. And then the next time you walk into the kitchen, you check to see if they're dishes and you put them away, and creating those little routines just helps us stay on track, so that our lives don't become all about doing laundry and doing dishes, and our brains are free to roam and explore and learn and play and do all the things that we actually really like and are good at doing.
Yeah. I mean, we can be resistant at first to creating those routines and habits, but once we create them and they become habit, we can do so much more. Like you said, you can focus on the creativity. You can focus on enjoying life. So great tip. Okay, so we are actually towards the end of the video. Do you have any final thoughts you'd like to leave people with? And definitely let them know, give them how to find your channel.
Yeah, I mean, really at the end of the day, like you have to do whatever works for you. I can give you ideas and suggestions all day long. I put a ton of strategies on my channel, but if you try them and they don't work for you, there's nothing wrong with you. It just means that that's not what your brain wants and needs. I would say my biggest tip overall is work with your brain, not against it. Whatever you're doing, if it's making you miserable in the way that you're trying to do it, don't keep doing that, because eventually your brain is just going to rebel and be like, that's it, I'm not doing this anymore because it's not fun for me. So find ways to incorporate your elements of interest into whatever you're doing. If I like calligraphy, then I will get pretty different pens and things like that. And if I hate it, if that's tedious to me, I'm not going to, right? Yeah. Do what works for you. With all that, you can find all of the strategies that I give out on my channel, HowtoADHD.com, or YouTube.com/HowtoADHD. You can find them either way.
Thank you so much, Jessica McCabe.
And thank you, everyone, for taking the time to listen to this ADHD Support Talk radio podcast episode. Be sure to stop by ADDclasses.com and sign up for a free webinar.